G Fuel key player matchup. We got Epsilon, and it's going to be Dave going up against Slasher from EnVyUs. Momo, walk us through the numbers.
Slasher, he has been your Hardpoint superstar, 1.43. Dave, usually you see some similar stats, but a little bit better. He's breaking obviously even at 1 and 1.04. But Epsilon, back against the wall. They lose this, they go 0-4, and they'll be out of contesting for that top 2 spot.
Epsilon's going to need Dave. That is your G Fuel key player matchup. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. There is a look at the team at the bottom of the leaderboard. Epsilon had an atrocious day 1. They're trying to turn it around now here in day 2, and they need a big win over Envy. Now, when we look at the big scheme of things here, Envy has already beaten this Epsilon squad 3-1 on day 1. But if you get a 3-0 from Epsilon here, that can make things really interesting if we ever get to a tiebreaker scenario at the end of tomorrow.
Yeah, this is where, the miracle has to happen for Epsilon. They've got 3 games left in this weekend. 1 against each team. They've already lost to Envy. They need to beat these guys, and to beat them with a better map percentage would obviously help them a lot. If they lose this, that Sunday is almost just for pride for them. Epsilon, they don't want to go out like this. They need to put up a fight. However, just coming off a hot loss from Optic, very tough.
We'll see if they're able to bounce back. We do know there's going to be one guy consistently playing well for him, and that's going to be Dave, especially in the hard points. But when we look at the total numbers, I got this stat from JP, our stats wizard. He said the team that outslays in hard points has won 90% of the time. So it can't just be Dave. You're going to need more. Hockey's had some great games. Will he be able to turn up? Vortex, though, he was the weak link for me yesterday. He's going to be the man I'm watching in this first game.
Vortex, ironically, was kind of the man to kind of step it up for me, and that's something going into day 2 that I picked. A lot of people were looking at Josh, and yes, Dave has put some, numbers up in certain game modes, but it needs to be consistent. It needs to be all 4 players. When all these 4 guys are playing on the same page, they're playing at the same pace, and with that kind of same hype, they are a very, very dangerous team. Don't forget, these guys just placed 3rd at Anaheim. They go in, they've just won, obviously, Sheffield over in Europe, less competition, but they go into this with a lot of momentum. And these first 3 games, that's been just taken out of them. The one player that I'm kind of looking at is Josh, and he needs to round these guys up. Some very, very young players amongst Epsilon. They're almost, almost the youth of the European scene, if you like. And yes, they have the talent, but sometimes it can get them a little bit down if, their back's against the wall.
Now, we've already walked you through the maps, but I want to show you them one more time because I was looking at the matchups here, and I looked at last night's performance from Epsilon going up against Cloud9. Well, they lost a Game 5 breakout search and destroy. Precinct Uplink, Exotic took it to them as they got wiped off the map. It was 13-3 on Precinct. And Scorch Hardpoint, that was one of their biggest losses in Hardpoint of the day. So maps 2, 3, and 4, you've already showed you struggled on day 1. What will you be able to do against a very strong Envy squad who has looked flawless in some of their hard points?
Envy needs to start Epsilon needs to start super hot. They need to take the throwback hard point, and then that just, gives them a little bit of energy. They'll start looking at each other and thinking, you know what, guys, first map done. This is where we need to start. But if they go down 0-1, it's kind of like beating a dead horse. It is, the start of the end, if you like, for Epsilon. But that is the squad right there. Josh, I feel the captaincy, the veterancy needs to kind of come from him. It's crazy to even think to say that Josh is now, the eldest player on a team. 6-7 years ago, he was that young, annoying little kid squeaking away and kind of terrorizing all these veterans, and now he's sitting in their boots.
Josh, he is the leader. He will try and rally the European squad. We saw how dangerous Epsilon could be at Anaheim. They go all the way to a 3rd place. On the other side of the stage, though, a career low placing for EnVyUs, who bombed out of the Anaheim Open. But so far in this tournament, Slasher has re-upped his game in Hardpoint. Look at these numbers: a 1.43, 74 seconds a game, and 29 defends in total. He is topping everybody on that list.
And then Epsilon, their highest player is David at 1.0, you know, neutral. That's their best player, is neutral. Hawkeye at 0.95. I don't even want to know where Vortex is, you know, sitting down there.
Vortex and Josh's 10-kill game knocked him down a little bit. Vortex is right above him, but they are having a rough time in Hardpoint. Who is going to show up big here as we take a look at the numbers? EnVyUs has not dropped a Hardpoint. So another scary statistic to look at there. You do have the edge in Search and Destroy. They've only won one of their searches for Envy, so you have to win that game number 2. You have to turn things around right there. And then when it comes to Uplink, the map's going to be Precinct. What can you solve after losing to Cloud9 last night? Where were the holes in the game? How do you turn the game around today for Epsilon?
Epsilon, they need to really start playing as a team. They, for me, are 4 very talented players. You know, they're playing on different pages. They need to all get on that same page. On S&D, they need to start grouping up a little bit more. But Uplink as well, look at that percentage, 0. You know, I know they've only played 3, but 3 out of 3 losses is, it says a lot about this team. And you know what, this was a team which I was, you know, very fond of in Uplink. They were that fast, aggressive play style and team. And I've just not seen it this weekend. The turnaround needs to start right now on map number 1. That Hardpoint as well, 20% victory. They're sitting at 0-3. I mean, those stats are never going to be good here.
David Davies alongside Joshua Lee Shepard, learning names as we take a look at these roster cards. Gotta love it. There's Steve, aka Vortex, and he is going to be a key player to look out for in this battle. We saw the aggression from John and Apathy. Vortex is gonna have his hands full. Who's that backup player? If you're on Epsilon, you know you're gonna have Envy flooding you with Slasher kind of hanging back in that AR role. How do you handle, though, the pressure from John and Apathy?
John and Apathy are going to be those super aggressive SMGs. I think Hawkeye and Vortex now, you know, need to kind of step up and go toe-to-toe with them. That's a very hard job because, you know, excluding Anaheim, these guys, you know, 2 of the best SMGs in the world, and they're showing it this week again. Hawkeye and Vortex, they came into the scene probably only, you know, 18 months ago and have shown, you know, their signs of being very, very dominant in this area. Well, this game or this weekend, it's just been poor performance after poor performance. One thing I would love to see as well was, you know, maybe Josh or Dave kind of join them a little bit. Like I said, playing together and pushing together is the key. But we're kicking it here off on Hardpoint. Let's see what we've got. JCap's going to open it up. Vortex going down straight away. And I think as well, this opening, you know, Hardpoint is very scrappy in the middle, but you can take a lot of points if you put them, you know, in the power position. So far, so good for Epsilon.
Yeah, Epsilon only dropping 1 player on that initial push. Dave is leading the charge. Already 3 kills, takes Apathy down to half health. But here comes Envy. Josh is set up for it. He's got the Envy 4 out, but Slasher too strong. The grenade's going to land, leaving just Hawkeye left alive. And now Hawkey's going to have some support flooding from the overpass. We're going to see a little bit of a setup from Epsilon, but no score is happening. The game plan right now, you're going to try and flank, flip the spawns, and player number 8, Vortex, is doing a great job of that on your minimap. Yeah,
there's 15 seconds left, and you're wanting to flip those spawns. Even though the player is kind of flanking round, Envy definitely having that favorable position here. They're going to clean up on the last 5 seconds as well, but you're going to need a team push from Epsilon. Vortex, you know, he sat there for 10 seconds waiting for the flank and then getting picked off like that. He's going to spawn right back at his base. Not ideal, but again, Epsilon, regroup, push together, see if they can break the bond.
Vortex never flanked fully as I expected. Instead, he just kind of stalled out, as you mentioned. Now he comes charging through, finds JCap first. Slasher is waiting, though, and Dave is going to peek over the fence. Nice teamwork coming in from Epsilon on this break. It's 3-on-2 and make it 3-on-1. The only one up in this position is JCap, who will find Josh. Can he get more while reinforcements flood in?
Yeah, perfect pinch there coming from Epsilon from the side and back door of the bond. Now you're going to see trades alike Dave, Slasher, and JCap getting in, but Apathy gives the advantage to Team EnVyUs once again. And Josh, very difficult position there. He's going to be taken down. With 15 seconds left here, you'd expect Envy to take the rest of this time. But again, this map in particular, you can challenge this last 10 seconds. And, you know, maybe the rotate will be a little bit more punishing. But you're going to see here, Envy sweep up those last 5. And collectively, they're going to break 50 points now.
Apathy backing down as grenades are thrown his way. John trying to set up on a flank here. He's got player number 2, Slasher, with him. It's a 2-on-2 pinch. Apathy and JCap from one end, Slasher and John from the other, and it's going to be Slasher and JCap left alive at the end of that battle. Slasher with the 2-piece will jump into the hard point. Look at these numbers. John is at 3 kills. Slasher 13 and 5. All of Envy working together, though, and Slasher's just putting on a show for us all, currently on a 5 streak.
Yeah, Slasher's that certain type of player. Wow, getting the team shot there coming in from Jacob as well. But talking of Slasher, you know, he's that kind of team player which can sit back, will pick up the kills. You look at Octane, you look at Formal, you know, and even the changes that are making within Optic, he is going toe-to-toe with them, and Slasher, for me, is showing kind of signs of when we saw him dominating, you know, alongside with FaZe. Now he finds himself on EnVyUs. I'm seeing the signs of a very, very strong player in Slasher this weekend, and if he continues this, it'll be a strong squad going into Pod Champ. 16 kills to his name, 85-33, the current scoreline. But the rotation goes to Baseball. Who's there already? It's EnVyUs once again with that control. We've got Scarabs coming in. It's Slasher once again.
Baseball field currently controlled by Slasher, but a 3-man hit coming from Blue. Slasher's going to find the first to make it 3 before he's finally cut down. Individually holding off this Epsilon squad. A little bit of teamwork needed at the end, but it was all Slasher at that start of the gunfight. Now you're going to see another team push coming in from Epsilon. Everyone trying to push through the front of Bowling. John's going to slow him down with the pick on Vortex. And as you can see on the minimap, one by one, player 4, player number 3 getting into position. And this Epsilon squad are getting cut down as the SMGs from Apathy slowing them on this push.
And I look at the scoreboard, and you know what? It reflects what we were talking about before the game. Dave is putting up, you know, neutral-ish numbers. He's actually positive too, where the rest of his team just a little lackluster in that slaying side of things, and they find themselves 100 behind now. Josh, the captain, 4 and 13. I don't know what's going wrong for him, because, you know, he had a great Sheffield and a fantastic Anaheim. But for me, he really needs to step it up against EnVyUs, and I think he's just being punished heavily by Slasher.
Slasher's double positive at 20 and 10. As you mentioned, Dave, best slaying performance at 15 kills. Josh and Vortex, those were the guys we were a little bit worried about, both having an off game. Number 1, down 100 points. How do you start the comeback here on Throwback? Does a single run, does streaks turn a game around on Throwback?
With Throwback, it's difficult because Baseball feel you really can collectively get a large majority of that. And if you get the rotations right here, you can come back. Absolutely. But the problem is you've got to start with actually getting those kills. And we're not seeing that from Epsilon. You look at the kill feed in the bottom left, and it's majority, you know, that blue roster, that EnVyUs team that are just dominating. And you see here, Josh and Vortex battling back, trying to get a few points on this middle hard point. Luckily for them, I will say, EnVyUs haven't actually got some major streaks to work with, I don't believe. But if they did, it would just be even worse for them.
Dave, big kill, slows down the Envy push. He stops Apathy in the window. Now he's pushed out, though, makes the call. There's going to be 3 hitting. Vortex waiting for the grenades. Now the challenge, and he is just going to be outgunned. It's Slash, who has switched over to an ERAD for this gunfight. He is doing it with all weapons, but 3 kills, 2 of them from Josh, will hold the hill, at least for now. Will the trades go in? Yes, Dave is there with Hockey. And we're going to see Epsilon hold. They're starting to tally back. It's been 29 unanswered points here.
I will say that really just showed the versatility of a player like Slasher. To pull an E-Red out from, you know, an MV4 or a K-Bar. What a strong play you've got there for EnVyUs. However, I will say, Epsilon, they're starting to string some kills together. They have got, you know, hold of this barn, and this next wave of kills could see them get over 100 points, but no, it's going to be broke by Apathy, John, JCap, everyone putting in a shift here as Apathy picks up that double. And again, a player that sometimes goes a little bit missed is Apathy. That, you know, that E-Rad in the right hands, he can be absolutely lethal with it, working towards those payloads as well. But back to the bike path, and we're going to see the contest coming in, but Slasher, he's back on that MV4, and this worries me for Epsilon.
In Slasher, we touched in when he was 20 and 10. He went over to the E-Rad for a bit and was simply getting shut down. So now 21 and 15, he's gone back to his bread and butter, the E-Rad, and he is devastating at range. First picks Josh, injures the second player. And we did talk about Apathy. Look at your scoreboard. He's caught right up with Slasher. These two taking it to Epsilon. On the other side, Josh, he's coming alive. You now have Vortex almost back to even. As I say that, he's going to get picked off. But Epsilon, they've made this a 70-point game. It's no longer a 100-point game.
And the one thing EnVyUs are doing so well, and Slasher in particular, is he picks up 3 kills there, but he actually tags another 2 up, which his teammates trade. They pick up those 5 kills in general, and Slasher was effective on all 5. And one thing EnVyUs don't need to do, really is focus on the rotate here, because they've already got the camo, they've already got the payloads. And the funny thing is, they're focused on the rotation. They're one step ahead in every single sense here, and the momentum is really showing through. 60-point game here. John in control. FTL, Camo, Apathy's just unlocked his payload. The only player a little bit behind is Cat, but he said in his interview, if I'm playing, like this, maybe not to my best, and we're still winning, something's going right.
Hockey and Josh, they made the intro push, but they won't get anywhere near the hill. It's only Dave left up, and Dave's going to find two. Now Vortex coming in. JCap, can he hold? The answer is no. Finally, Epsilon is going to break in. 26 points remain, but Envy building up to a 75-point lead before Epsilon made the comeback.
Interesting to see, because there's only 20 seconds left here. I don't really see a camo play being used, but you're getting towards the end of the game here. You never know, but 2 players go down either side. Dave makes it 3, and Epsilon should hold on to the remainder of this point. A 5-kill streak for Dave, 27 to his name. I hate to say it's a one-man team, because it really isn't. Hawkeye has picked it up, admittedly, but Josh, -12. Vortex is hidden negative as well. It's very, very difficult here.
Slasher and Apathy, all 4 kills in the feed. That's 4 down for Epsilon. Total control of the map for EnVyUs. Envy, the surprise squad for me this weekend. I was doubting them after their poor performances. They've kind of been on a downward spiral in the last 2 months. Now showing their true form right before the biggest event of the year. They want to go to the $500,000 playoffs again. They want to make it deep and show everybody they should be in contention for the 2017 world title. Apathy on your screen, going to try and break on through after a little wall run. He's cut down from a flanking Dave. Will Dave and the rest of Epsilon be able to flip the spawns here? They have control of the mini-map. What is the game plan? Well,
Dave is pulled out the MV4 and he's trying to go head-to-head with Slasher. The problem is EnVyUs has saved all those payloads, so no matter Epsilon getting back into this, it's going to be hard for them to take the lead. Hawkeye definitely stepping it up. He's nearly neutral. He's got his payload available, and I believe a streak as well. But the 2 hills that I have been impressed by Epsilon is the middle and barn. The problem is, though, this barn has been rotated much better by Envy. They've learned their mistakes, and now Slasher, he's at the back, he's anchoring, and a couple more kills could find himself in a very favorable position. 212 and marching on to that 250 mark. EnVyUs, they're looking super strong here, Puckett.
Epsilon, though, is going to get 3 down, and they will break through. Everyone is cleared out. Fantastic break, and that's a bit surprising. As you mentioned, it was Slasher anchoring over at the Lime. You had JCap behind the silo. He was sitting there for basically 30 seconds, but Epsilon on their first push, they come through. This is getting a closer and closer game.
Yep, really strong flank from Josh there. He recognized all 4 players were pushing by on the bike path. He cuts in middle, finds 2, and he delays the push from Envy. Yes, they all have their payloads, but if they're not getting near the hard point, you're keeping them at bay. The worry is if it goes to baseball field, they have everything in their arsenal to win this game. Hawkeye's used his payload, so has Dave. Josh is working towards his first, and believe it or not, we're going to go to the bike path. And there's only 40 points in it here. Epsilon, they are trying to make a comeback. Dave is 36 and 28. Admittedly, he's not got the objective, but he doesn't need to. He's slaying for his team right now.
And he gets the kill there on Slasher, so that stops Envy from scoring. Big kill from Dave, a desperation attempt. I'm looking at the numbers. Who else is going to be there with them? Hawkeye even. Will he be able to catch another streak? We saw him do it against Cloud9 yesterday, but it's JCap down low for EnVyUs. Picking up 2, cleaning up the kills, injured by Apathy. And JCap is going to have plenty of support. Here's a look at Slasher and the NV4 on the back line. A bit of a team kill, but it's all blue in the kill feed. Epsilon needs to start stopping this push here from Envy. They need to put more pressure on the hill.
And the one thing Epsilon's probably trying to do is just hold out to bike path, knowing that they can, take a lot of that, but they don't realize that they've still got all the payloads. I believe Cap and Apathy's used that Centurion, maybe a reactive as well, so maybe they can somehow hold on to this, but we are going to see the baseball field. We are going to that, and Epsilon, believe it or not, only 14 points away, but they definitely can get back into this. It's the next 2 wave of kills which are vital to Epsilon getting back in.
That's right, it's Envy just 14 points away. The camo available here for Slasher. All they need basically is 1 break on the baseball field. They're gonna wait for player number 1, John, to get into position, and then expect Slasher to come through.
That is really huge. The fact Dave picks up 2 kills, that camo will get Slasher behind enemy lines, but maybe, you know, Epsilon can take him out. Not going to happen. Slasher for the 3rd. Vortex still holding those spawns. We're going to see Epsilon still have good spawns. They've been broken. Now we see Envy spawning at blue as well. This 2v2 goes huge, and Apathy clutching up once again. But Epsilon, they're closing in. They're spawning towards Bowling. A very favorable spawn. The Scarab just gets a little bit close to Dave, and now this next wave of kills
5
is
seconds.
everything.
5 points to go here for Envy. And we're going to one more baseball, or excuse me, one more hard point. We're going to see the rotation here as the final seconds tip down. Dave, 42 kills, has been on fire throughout this hard point. And we are going to see, can Epsilon come back in this game? Look at your score. They're down just 10, 15 points away themselves.
All players down, and just like that, EnVyUs clean up. They will take the series, and I tell you what, I thought it'd be more convincing by the way they started, but I believe Dave, nearly hitting 45 kills to his name, dragged Epsilon through the dirt and into those later rounds. There is some positives to take from that if you're Epsilon. Envy are 100% on Hardpoint.
Yes.
And they still are 100% on Hardpoint. But for a second there, Epsilon showing that they can contest.
How did they do that on the last 2-3 hard points?
The interesting thing was, Slasher was saving that camo. He was like, don't worry guys, we'll break baseball field. He has camo, and it's like, okay, you ready? We're gonna push it in 3. 2 teammates die. It's like, oh, hang on a second. He still popped the camo and got to the back, made a kill. Fine by him, but it was used just as his 2 teammates went down. And if that didn't happen, even if it was just a 1-to-1 trade and he had someone with him there, they would have cleaned up. They would have edited it on the baseball field. Dave, for me, simply just going kind of God mode. 42, 43 kills, I think he finished with there. But still, not enough to take down the boys in blue.
Most impressive part of that game for me was Epsilon breaking the barn. They got themselves back in the action, but the payloads, they were running out. And at the very end, underneath that bike path, I felt like there was just not enough contesting. JCap surviving forever on the other side of that wall was just either contesting or scoring. Envy, they get within 15 points, and they eventually edge out Epsilon. But Epsilon showing what they can do in the respawns. They're not out of this series, but the best they can do against Envy now is to tie it up at 3-1, 3-1. Because in their first matchup, it was all Envy winning the respawns. Epsilon did take a search, but now you can't beat them at least in map count.
The problem is, you know, they got that precinct uplink in game 3. We saw how, you know, disappointing or poor they were at that one. You know, and going from the S&D, yes, they took it last against EnVyUs, but EnVyUs today have already picked up their first S&D win against Cloud9. They're looking a lot better. It's a difficult one for Epsilon, and it really does kind of show a lot when we're talking about their best opportunity is to tie things up with Envy. If you guys missed it, obviously day 1, you know, Epsilon 0-2. Disappointing for those guys. Now they have 2 days back-to-back of Optic. They've already suffered their first loss. Now they need to come into this S&D, and I feel they needed that first hard point.
Absolutely. If they had that comeback, they're going to be playing all kinds of energy here in Search and Destroy. Now, you're deflated. If you're Dave, you're out of gas. You just went as hard as you possibly could in the second half of that hard point. What more could have this guy given you? He's got to be feeling a bit defeated. Coming into Search, though, just got to reset. Win that first round, start building some positive momentum. You need something here because you're playing Breakout, and this is the map you lost 6-3 to lose to Cloud9. If they win last night, this is a whole different story on day 2 for Epsilon.
Yeah.
Going 0-2 on day 1 really put them in the hole. The loss to Optic just a few moments ago, and now they're going up against Envy, who is threatening for a top 2 position here in our final group before playoffs. Let's take a look at our map here. The A bomb site's in the showers. The B bomb site, it's outside at that top road. The key players for me, it's going to be the SMGs because that's where Epsilon was losing the fights. They were getting outgunned at times last night by Cloud9. Priest was causing issues at short range. And Dave, he's got to be a rock star. You got to get your camo here in Search and Destroy.
Well, we'll see how Dave does and goes about that. We'll see how the SMGs collectively come together because Vortex is rocking that ERAD as well. And I've seen Vortex do this before, and usually it means Epsilon are going to the B site. He'll be watching the flank, and already gunfire is going down towards the cave.
Vortex protecting Josh here. If Josh gets pushed, Vortex can jump out and trade, and there it is. He picks up 2, so it's a man advantage for Epsilon. And just like that, JCap will make it a 2-on-2. JCap and Slasher from Envy working against the attackers, Vortex and Hockey.
And just like that, you know, how JCap just took down one and walked away from Spiral. We had Hawkey right alongside him there. I would have loved to seen a trade. Just look how Slasher and JCap are playing. They're playing toe-to-toe together. I want to see Hawkey and Vortex kind of double up, make a decision, and be decisive on this one. Because at the end of the day, really, the next kill, whoever takes it should win this. The trades should be effective. However, the bomb may be going down, and Slash is creeping up behind him. Has he seen his head? I think he has.
We've seen Hockey play incredibly well from this position before. If you flood him, he can shut you both down. But there is not a whole lot of time left. The bomb did not get planted, so this is Envy with control. They have every advantage here, and Hockey is all out of health. First round goes to Team EnVyUs on defense.
Slasher and JCap played it perfectly. They flanked around. They picked up that first kill. The bomb went down. It might have been a different story as Hawkey was in a bit of a power position. But Envy, they clean up. Like I said, you've got to be decisive. You've got to kind of play with some balls, taking the words out of JCap's mouth. They've decided, you know what? We're not playing scared. We're not letting people plant the bombs. We're taking it to them. We're being the aggressive team.
JCap and Envy won their first search and destroy here at the start of the day. Will they be able to continue to impress now with a win on Breakout? We'll keep our eyes on your bomb carrier. It's JCap inching his way past loading. No one has been seen yet for this Epsilon squad. It's a 4-man flank as they are all running the train in the back. You're going to see the bomb going down here at A. But slowly, Epsilon is going to be pushing you.
Yeah, Apathy's seen one. He's getting out of there. He'll be calling that out. JCap will have the line of sight on him. I do like the play from both teams here. Even though they went completely different directions, they're going to butt heads straight in this A site. The pressure is on Epsilon. Of course, the bomb being planted, 28 seconds left on the clock. And now, JCap on your screen. John's going to draw the first blood. Cap the second. Apathy the third. And just like that, Vortex left in a 1v4. Yes, he does trade out with Slasher, but now it's almost mission impossible for him as the time ticks away. Apathy cleans up, and that's 2-0 to EnVyUs.
The longest flank ever didn't pay off.
No.
Surprised?
I think it all comes down to really two things. You know, the play by Envy, you know, if they were to, you know, split up or play a little bit slow, Epsilon definitely could have caught one off guard. But as soon as that bomb went down, Envy had so much information that they weren't at cell block, they weren't at middle. Where are they going to be? They're probably going to be flanking you. And I think a very strong play by, I believe it was Apathy when he saw them in that mid-cut. He turned around straight away. He knew the assault rifle of Cap was watching over him and currently sits 3-0.
Here comes the push from Epsilon. They send two players up top, a pinch at the stairs, and Vortex gets another first blood here for Epsilon. He did it on their first attack, but it was quickly traded out. This time around, it's a 2-man advantage. Just Slasher and Apathy left alive for Envy. This should be an Epsilon round. No one to contest the bomb being planted.
Yeah, this is a really well played and well thought out round from Epsilon. As soon as they picked up the first blood, Slash is going to be put a lot of pressure on, and Apathy now, again, he's kind of putting mission impossible.
And there's Vortex, baby. Big Steve showing up with 3 kills. He gets the first blood, he gets the second to the last kill, and the final 1v1 against Apathy. Here's a look at it. Apathy got the best of him in the previous round. Vortex gets revenge as Epsilon's right back in this.
Yeah, Epsilon taking control of mid-map there, really showing dividends. And for those guys now, maybe they can get back into it. Losing 3 back-to-back would have been very, very upsetting for them. Vortex sits at 6-2, while the rest of his team only 1 kill collectively. But Epsilon, again, they're trying to take mid-control, and they'll have free range of it. The question is, will they be caught out by Slasher?
Who's going to check this corner? Slasher. He gets the shots off without anyone looking at him. Apathy's going to find Vortex, so it was a 2-man advantage. Now it's a 3-on-2 scenario in favor of Envy. Hockey and Dave left alive.
Slasher with the incel there, and Apathy with the backup. Perfect execution from EnVyUs. And now, like you said, Epsilon, 2v3, very difficult. For me, they can't let the bomb go down. If they do, they'll be put under a lot of pressure to kind of bounce back. There is one player actually planning. Apathy's caught one from behind as well. He might have picked up the 2-piece there. But again, a little bit of timing comes very, very helpful for EnVyUs. Sticking together, working as a team, it pays off.
And here's the team shot, John and Apathy, with your round-ending kill cam.
Apathy just sneaking behind that tank there again. Epsilon didn't expect it.
It's going to come down to Vortex staying up for me here on the attack once again for Epsilon. Round 5, Envy leads by 3. Dave going to be your bomb carrier. And he is currently at 1-3, nowhere near a camo. On the other side, Slasher, he's at about 25%.
It's going down this time over towards A. Josh pulled out an ERAD, and it looks like they're going SMG based here. And who is in the shower? So there is one player, it's Apathy. And SMG beast himself, currently sitting at 4-2. He's going to find him. There's the intel. Slasher will come in, will clean up on Vortex. And again, EnVyUs, they have that numerical advantage. Josh is inside showers now, and he's going to find one.
Oh.
No, shots were fired, shots were missed. Apathy cleans up.
Now is my concern. Who is going to be able to meet Apathy in the showers here? Who is going to be able to win that close-range SMG battle? Apathy gets your first 2 picks. John helps out with Dave, and it's Hockey left alive. 1 versus 3. Slasher, JCap, and Apathy to get through. And this is not going to be easy. 30 seconds left on the clock. Envy knows exactly where that bomb is down, and they're going to make Hockey come to him.
Yeah, they don't need to do anything here. Slasher again, just peeking, getting some intel, and now forcing Hawkey to make that decision. With 20 seconds left, it's denying the inevitable, but can he make some kills towards his payload? He bags 1, 4-1 is the scoreline, and they're working towards a 2-0 in the series. EnVyUs, they're looking so much better at Search and Destroy here on day number 2.
Epsilon has had no answer, though, on breakout, search, and destroy. You saw them struggle against Cloud9. They just seem to get separated, don't really know how to pinch in and how to quickly trade on this map. And it has been a tough road so far here in the green group of the Global Pro League. Apathy on your screen, open things up here for EnVyUs, has the highest kills in the lobby at 6-2. Vortex on the other side for Epsilon leads his squad with 6 kills of his own.
Epsilon, they're sticking to, their original plan of taking mid-map control, but no, they're backed off with the intel of Hawkey. They're going to be coming up Spiral, and this is going to be a bloodbath, but Cap, he's the one to draw first blood, and so far, so good. Again, EnVyUs. Vortex will answer back and make it a 3v3, but now in the medical bay, Dave is under pressure. He needs the help of his teammate. Vortex caught with his pants down by Slasher, and again, a 3v2 over towards this B-bomb site.
Dave gets 1, but that puts a lot of pressure now on Hockey. 1 versus 2, here they come, and he's caught reloading. Has to slide out and regain his health, and Envy never gives him the opportunity. The hunt pursues, and down falls Hockey. Envy on game point.
You got to admire how EnVy have really changed their style of play in 24 hours. They've gone from retaking bomb sites to being that team that we're going to this one and we're going to put the pressure on it and take full control. I'd love to know the stats of first bloods on this, because the amount of times I've seen EnVy draw that first blood has been pretty incredible so far. John just unlocking his payload, but we might not even get to see many in this game, being at 5-1 already.
Yeah, you got Josh at 1-5 again. Dave, your best player, is at 2-5, and Hockey right there with them. This is another rough performance from Epsilon. They need to get a first pick now, and they've spotted JCap. They know that there's 3 players rotating together. Josh has made the call, but will they get a single pick? Envy's going to double back and challenge him, but Josh gets out without taking any bullets. Now the one-on-one versus John, and John has the inferior firepower. Nice picks from Josh to open this up.
Yeah, and Josh is going to find 3 this round alone. He was the player watching the flank while they pushed on to B, and look at that. Epsilon goes, we know Slash is sat at the back. Let's take it indoors. He's probably going to have an MV4. You're absolutely correct there, Epsilon. However, never underestimate Slasher when he has this in his hands. He's going to find one.
No. Don't challenge him one at a time, boys. Whew. Well done.
A slide comes in. He was low on health, I will say that, but the trade comes in, and Epsilon, they bagged themselves a second round here. As we go into round number 8, Epsilon cannot lose anymore.
And props to Vortex showing patience. In that first fight, he could have challenged Slasher instead. He waits, Josh comes out. The teamwork wasn't there right away, but Vortex is able to clean up the hill. But really, that was all John. Excuse me, that was all Josh to open it up. 3 kills in that round. Now we'll see Epsilon back on defense. Envy is all going into A. They're going to try and bring it up close and personal. And will Epsilon see this one coming?
The fact that Epsilon are taking mid control is great, but the problem with mid is it's very different, because you can take mid control but completely give up A. This time EnVy are trying something completely different on round 8, which is pushing through the A site, and now Hawkey, hopefully for him, he can pick up one, but no, he's going to go down. That was the time where all Hawkey needed to do was take one to the grave with him, because all the intel is there. They know exactly where all the players are, but EnVyUs, Their laser-like accuracy coming in from John. A 4v2 looking very likely to close out map number 2.
Yeah, I'm putting my jacket back on, Phil. This one is over unless Dave and Vortex can pull off the miracle. Here comes the FTL jump. Vortex going to find 2. Dave, he's got a chance here. The FTL is used on the opposite end, but John is finally found. Slasher in the one-on-one, and Dave is out of bullets. Well done by Envy. It got scary for a moment, but they close it out. A second S&D win here on day 2.
2 in a row for Envy. And you know what? 3-0 against Cloud9. They're looking for another one here against Epsilon. They have their eyes on the prize. And the interesting thing is here, yes, Optic Gaming, they're sitting pretty undefeated at the top, but EnVyUs, I can see it happening. Going into day 3, they're going to face Optic Gaming again, you know, and that result, that went game 5 last time. All they need to do is win, really.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be 3-0, 3-1, and they steal away that first seed from them. If that obviously pans out the way we may think it will do, but Epsilon, they are 1 map away from having 0 chance of qualifying for the playoffs. Difficult position.
Envy is looking like they're back into beast mode. They are cruising here on day number 2. Will they be able to close it out with another hot thrill? We'll find out after this. Welcome back. This is match number 3 of day 2. It's the Call of Duty World League GPL presented by PlayStation 4, and Team EnVyUs is trying to prove to everybody why they won the 2016 Call of Duty World Championship. They're a world-class team. They haven't put up the numbers like that recently, but they are showing their true form this weekend. Now, on the other side of the stage, it's the opposite story. A squad that was on the up-and-up, Epsilon, top 3 finish at Anaheim, a lot of hype coming into this weekend. They have underperformed. But on Twitter, someone asked me, is Epsilon pulling an Absolutely not. They won games on day number 1. They actually blew a 2-0 lead against Cloud9. They should have been coming into this day 1-1. But so far, they have dropped 5 straight maps.
Yeah, it's been very difficult for Epsilon, and you've got to kind of think as well, the group that they're in, they've drawn the short straw, I'll be honest. Epsilon, top 3 at Anaheim, and kind of, success recently, and then they get put in a group with Optic Gaming, EnVy, and a new reformed Cloud9. Very, very difficult. However, the public kind of spoke, and they thought Epsilon as well were kind of gunning for that top 2 position.
Yeah.
No one thought they'd be coming out of day 2 at a potential 0-4. They've been competitive matches, but a win is a win and a loss is a loss. They lose this next map, and that top 2 dream, that playoff run, it won't be available for them anymore.
Soul-crushing weekend here if you drop Precinct Uplink, and this is not one of your strongest game modes. We saw them struggle against Cloud9's Exotic yesterday. They simply couldn't get control of the drone. In fact, they didn't have a single scoring attempt in their first half against Cloud9. You got to put the pressure on EnVy. You can't let them get steamrolling. We saw what Slasher and Apathy can do in the first Hardpoint, but on the flip side, Dave was right there with him. In fact, Dave topped the leaderboard in game number 1. Who is going to be alongside him here in the respawn? How does Epsilon get back in this game? We're about to find out. We're opening things up with Dave from Epsilon.
I think that is it. Dave taking down Slasher. This MV4 battle should be quite interesting, but so far Slasher's won it every single time on these maps in particular. But we see a 2-2 trade coming into the opening pick, and the drone will favor EnVyUs. We do see Apathy sliding on in. 3 kills to his name already. Doesn't make it 4 as Vortex stops the bleeding for Epsilon here, but still flying high and mighty, shut down by John, and a very fast-paced game as expected between these 2 teams. But EnVyUs trying to win that slaying battle. They'll be the first to pick up the drone.
One of my issues I had with Epsilon yesterday is when they had opportunities, they didn't jump on them. They didn't just immediately go and push for the score. Instead, they tried to regain, and then they were stuffed by the defense. They gave the defense too much time to set up. Will they be able to turn that around today? They have the man advantage. It's going to be a 2-on-1. Apathy, the only player up for EnVy. If Josh can get this kill, this is a 1-point opportunity. Instead, it's going to be Apathy slowing them down. Drones on the ground, and Epsilon has to reset.
Still 0-0 as we go into the second minute of this game. Sometime this weekend, we've seen some very, very fast-paced gameplay. This map in particular, we saw Optic Gaming score 2 opportunities in the first 45 seconds, but not in this map. 2-0 up is EnVyUs, and trying to create that first momentum swing. Strong shots from Josh there, taking Apathy off that power position, and now we see Slasher trying to get into the mix as 2 players do fall down. All he's thinking about is just trying to take one with him. Hawkey goes down, Vortex as well. The slaying battle as well, back and forth here. Epsilon and EnVy. Gotta say, JCap, bit of a slow start, but it's not seeming to punish them just yet.
Yeah, 0-6. No kills for JCap, yet it's a 0-0 score. And John is going to get pressured by 3 players around this corner. He is going to watch JCap and Slasher die. Apathy's with him now, and Apathy's going to find 2. So now John will find the 3rd Epsilon player. It's only Josh left, and Josh is trying to flank through. John spots it. Reinforcements coming off spawn. It's going to be EnVy pushing out of their base successfully, and it all started with Apathy's 2-piece.
JCap trying to get a free kill, shooting Josh in the back, and even Slasher steals that one. Cap, though, a man who's been around for so long, he doesn't care. He's grabbing that drone, and the objective is on his mind right now. He's taken some damage, but if Apathy can clean up the kills, he can make the first play. The 1 point goes in, and yes, sitting at 0-8, but if you're winning, you're winning.
0-8, 4 assists, and a score, I'll take it. As it's EnVy on top. Still very early, though. And you could see some dunks rallied in here from Epsilon. Keep your eyes on the payloads as this game goes on. The camos are going to be the difference makers in Uplink, as always.
The one thing Epsilon have done is they've not let Slasher go out of control. I say that just as all 4 members fall to the floor, but Hawkey 7-7. We've got Dave 9-9 as well. Josh trailing a little bit, but EnVy, they're starting to grasp this game by the scruff of its neck, and there you go, another dunk. And that was, very reminiscent of what they were doing against Cloud9, that pass and dunk, mechanism, that kind of flow that they go into it, really paying off here for EnVyUs. They're 3-0 in the map so far, trying to make it in the Series 2. But with 90 seconds still on the clock here in the first half, Epsilon trying to get on the board with JCap. He's turning up as well now. It's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, everyone checked the wrong corner. JCap's just waiting for him. Lines up 2. Meanwhile, the drone is moving in the hands of Apathy. Here is a 1-point attempt, and he cannot get the toss off. Good job here on the defensive end from Epsilon. They hold their ground on the third EnVy push, and they will force them back. Now it's going to be Vortex in a 1v1 versus JCap inside. JCap's waiting, and he will pick up the first kill. It's traded out, but EnVy has the man advantage here.
We're going to see Josh as well, finding 3 in the corridor. EnVyUs really grouping up and playing as a team. Apathy and John, the submachine duo, they've shown why they are one of the best in the world at it, and so far so good here as they continue to dominate. Cap starting to heat up, 5th kill of the game, but he finds his 12th death as well. Slasher and John, though, both on 14, but Apathy leading with 16 kills to his name, 26 interactions, far surpassing anyone right now. 40 seconds left to go. EnVyUs still.
Oh, no. That's just another fight for Dave where Slasher has the better position. He's pre-aiming you, and you can see he just does not miss when he's going one-on-one against Dave. John, the last one up for EnVy as we see the clock ticking down to the final 20 seconds. It's going to be one push for Epsilon. They need a wave of kills, though. Will they be able to get the first pick here? 3 players from EnVy around the corner. Hockey finds 1, but it's Apathy with 2 for EnVy.
App and Slasher, they should down 2. We're going to see Slasher find his 2nd as well. 17 kills to his name as well. With 5 seconds left, this half will end at 3-0, and we're going to see EnVyUs go into the second half, 5 minutes away from picking up once again another win here in week 4 of the Global Pro League. EnVyUs, a lot of these guys were doubted. I was a doubter. The desk, we've all talked about what we saw at Anaheim and how they've changed and overcome that. Really, really impressed with the boys in blue this weekend, trying to find themselves in that playoff bracket. Of course, only 8 teams can head there, 2 from each group.
And I'm looking at the numbers. Vortex, double negative. Josh, -5. Hockey's leading the way. He's 15 and 10. He's doing his job. Dave, not quite positive yet. You just got to step it up. If you're the Red Squad Epsilon, turn it on right now because you are running out of time in this series. You're down 2 games. Now you're down 4 points in game number 3 as you see the 1-point toss coming in from John.
And that's not an easy 1-point play. We do kind of scrutinize a lot of these players for easy misses and sometimes like that, but you miss that shot, sometimes I'll give you the benefit of the doubt if you're under pressure. John, though, he sinks it like a champ and finds himself 4-0 in the lead. Hawkey, though, windles his way through. He's going to get a dunk himself, and now Epsilon, they're off the mark. 2-4, and they're still in this game without a shadow of a doubt. I will say, knowing these guys and knowing Infinite Warfare in general, this is a side where you can set up some type of relay as well. They could get some momentum here.
John's just going to grab that drone and run. Defenders are wrapping back. Apathy trying to force him into his SMG. John's going to get tagged up here. And we'll see the game plan. It's Apathy distracting. Body block will not help out as Apathy picks up the kill on Dave. We are going to see the score going through a 2-possession game. Once again, 4-point difference in favor for EnVy, and they are not done yet. Slasher just keeping the drone out of Epsilon's hands, then winning the gunfights. He's putting so much pressure on the spawns. And you can just see Epsilon, they're forced to turtle. What do you do at this point?
Oh, I mean, you've got to focus on those 2 players. Slasher, he is that kind of dominant force with the assault rifle, which has been tearing it all series long. But the scariest thing is when you're playing against the submachine gun like Apathy, and he gets on a roll, he's a player who gets hyped. He's a player who plays off momentum. A 1-point player has been missed. The drone may be reset here via Josh, but Apathy for me is closing out this game right now.
Now, Epsilon wanted a counter here. Instead of tossing it out, Josh is going to keep it. He has a lead blocker. It's Vortex directly in front of him. Now Hockey is going to be in the mix. Dave, the first one up top, but no one checks the construction corner. Player number 5, John, gets behind them all, picks up 1, calls out the other 3. Slasher, JCap, Apathy, and John, all 4 players picking up kills for EnVy, and EnVy's taking this one the other way for a dunk.
I love that from Cap as well. He does actually pick up a kill, but, he's not got the best stat line, but all he does there is delay Epsilon. He's sitting there shooting people, and that drone sits pretty, goes in, and you now have Apathy again. He'll take that pass. He's going to finish it with a little bit of style there, going in backwards. But 10-2, I'm getting some very bad feelings. We could be seeing the same result on this map as we saw Epsilon lose 13-3. EnVyUs, they're on a roll. There is no stopping this team right now. Payloads in abundance. The FTL jump coming in, and just like that, dunk goes in time and time again. 12-2, 2 minutes left on the clock. Puckett, I feel it's almost over.
This got to be so frustrating if you're Epsilon. You came out a week early to prepare for this. You've been scrimming on North American connections. You've been playing all the top teams. You have 2 big tournaments left. $500,000 up for grabs in the playoffs. And after losing this match, you have no chance of collecting a single dollar.
That playoff prize pool, $500,000. Absolutely nothing will be going to Epsilon if the next 90 seconds don't provide a miracle. Well, they'll have to focus their way towards champs coming into this. Epsilon, didn't even know how long they were going to be here. Over in America, they were saying, if we qualify, we're staying, we're training. How will that play out for them? What will they do going into champs? Cap, he's going for a 1 point.
Oh, almost.
Misses that one.
That was an overdrive wiggle right there. And now you're going to see John fall. But Epsilon still, where are those arrows on the map? Well, mostly in their base all game long. There's one player now, player number 4, Vortex, trying to flank Envy. But everyone's so spread out, and Slasher has just been so strong.
And how many times
holding this top?
How many times have you seen 4 players just like instantly dead on Epsilon? And it just gives such a free pass. Slasher now has camo. Not that he needs it, but all he waits is for the first blood. Now a 3v3. App's actually going to take his own teammate down. He may be just feeling sorry for Epsilon right now. But,
camo was used, but only about 10% of it for Slasher. So he should be able to regain that after a kill or two. We could see a camo dunk still before this game's over. But honestly, 30 seconds left. You can go ahead and chalk this one up for EnVyUs. Do not see how you're going to put in 5 dunks if you're Epsilon and force a tiebreaker. Instead, it is Envy continuing to impress. They've only dropped 1 series this whole time, and they are perfect on day 2, not dropping a single game against Cloud9 and now against Epsilon.
And you look at Epsilon, their record on Uplink remains 0%. They have not won an Uplink to date here this week, and Cap is going to find a nice easy 2 kills, maybe pad his stats, get a little bit caught up to the rest of his teammates. But all that matters is that green W, of course, that they take away as we see Epsilon hold another L coming in to the Global Pro League. Week 4. Wow, it's going quick. Week 4, day 2. Epsilon unable now to qualify.
Rough day here for Epsilon. Fantastic day if you are a fan of the boys in blue. Team EnVyUs impressing once again. They're the real deal, and they're looking to prove it here in our green group. They still have a chance of stealing that #1 spot. As you mentioned earlier, they will get another rematch against Optic Gaming tomorrow. How will they fare in that one? That story is yet to be told, but we know this one is all wrapped up. Final thoughts on this series. What did you see going well for Envy today?
Envy, the slaying side is just on point. You've got App and John just kind of going crazy. I'm seeing a lot of kind of Black Ops 3 App and John. Slasher, he was, I would say, underperformed at Anaheim. Coming into this, though, when the money matters, obviously these guys, they are stepping it up. Cap, he's not about those stats, and he kind of said it, if I'm, not playing to my best, and they're still winning, that's all that matters. Sometimes objective is where it's at. He starts a little bit slow in that uplink, but it didn't reflect in the scoreline. He was 0-7, and it was still 0-0. He picks it up, and then it starts to flow. They get those payloads, and they clean up. I'm sure all their focus now is taking that win against Optic maybe tomorrow and stealing that first seed.
We still have one more match to go tonight, but before we get to that, we got to throw it back to our desk. We got Benson and crew ready to break down this one. Fellas, is this the strongest Envy we've seen all year long?
That's a good question, Chris. It really is. I mean, in terms of Envy, I'm having flashbacks. I'm not going to lie, from stage 1, when you mentioned it earlier on, Matt, they just kind of stole the group and managed to take that first seed away from Splice. Could be potentially similar in terms of their week here. I want to welcome, of course, the wonderful Maven to the studio. It's great to have you here, bud. How's your day going? You enjoying the week?
This has been fun, man. This weekend just seems to be about proving doubters wrong. People doubted Optic maybe coming into this. People doubted Envy. Look at the 2 teams turning up. Matt and I before this.
You doubted Envy.
I said,
oh, yeah.
I was quoted, I just tweeted it out. I was quoted as saying there's a 0% chance Envy get top 2.
Oh, well, about that.
I said it as well. I don't take it back. That's what I felt.
Okay.
But I was wrong.
Fair enough. One thing is 100% right now, and that is Epsilon cannot qualify for the Stage 2 playoffs.
Wow.
They now sit 0-4. Many people, Teep, had this Epsilon squad in their top 2.
I did. I definitely did. I wasn't going that far as saying that Envy had 0% chance of making it. But regardless, Epsilon just not looking strong at all. And Josh, man, another tough game to sort of end the qualification process for him. So 13-31 in that last game there. Just nothing really going right from in the respawn.
32, JCap killed him at the end.
Oh, yeah, the free death. My bad.
Got to put that death down
Thanks,
there.
Matt.
Man, it's just a dramatic difference. I don't know if the practice is what went wrong from them. They seem to be on a bit of a roll. They did well at Sheffield, and then for whatever reason here in Stage 2, just nothing. Them and Splice look off. Splice was able to qualify, though. That's a big difference.
Good point. Now, we'll go ahead and break down that series. Of course, we'll start with map number 1, the Hardpoint. It was throwback, and Maven, this one was actually pretty close, 250 to 236. I feel kind of sorry for Dave. He drops 40 kills for the L.
Well, it wasn't close early, right? It was an early, I think, 100-point lead for EnVy before they came back. But you know what person that did kind of doubt this Epsilon team, and I'll call him out. I talked to Pat before this. Ake said, I don't have a lot of faith in them. You know, they've been overperforming. Dave's been such a hard carry. That's going to slow down at some point. They've gotten some favorable matchup recently. He thought this was a team they could beat, and they look very beatable.
Even with Dave, pulling off 42 kills, it's still not good enough to win a hardpoint game. It's what we talked about a little bit before with one of the Epsilon matches, where it almost, usually with Dave playing that well, it's good enough for a win.
Right.
Because the other guys aren't hurting you that bad. But when everybody is like, -8, -10, all around those areas, like, those are numbers that hurt.
Well, and to Chris's point, I think he said earlier, he's like, are there some matchups where you can get away with that? Sure, but when you're playing the likes of Optic Gaming, the way EnVy's playing right now, it has to be a full team effort. They're not getting it.
Definitely does. It's worth giving a little bit of props, of course, to Slasher, who had a fantastic series as a whole. But that map 1, it was almost perfect play from him.
That looked like Black Ops 3 EnVy, to be honest. When this roster change went down and how dominant they looked, they're really getting that team performance. And Cap is able to, stay at that consistent level as well. And that's when this team is so darn dangerous. Possibly a top 3 team. If Cap's able to keep up in the slaying category like that, that's a very impressive game for me. It's a scary team, and I think Momo said it before. Black Ops 3, John and App is very, very scary. Can you keep up with those two when they're playing like that? You can't.
Well, we were talking a little bit off camera, and I think you were like, just kind of, you're not really like super impressed with EnVy. They're winning these series, but like, this is kind of how they won in Black Ops 3, and they're winning at the beginning of this game. It's like, it's not like huge flashy plays. It's just like consistent, close games. They always play the long game in Hardpoint, rotating to the next hills.
How it should be.
They play the right way.
How it should be.
Players that get better as the title goes on.
That too.
That's what we're seeing here. It's just like, it's insane to me how quickly it switched, though, because it was like 4 to 6 months where we would talk like, oh, EnVy has the pieces. Eventually they're going to figure it out. They're going to get it together. They didn't. We all lose faith. Now NBC.
Hey, man, you want to talk about perfect time to find those pieces and find out what your solution is? Literally right now. You have Stage 2 playoffs. If you qualify, of course, next week. Then, of course, Call of Duty World Championship a few weeks after that. I mean, this is the perfect time for this EnVy team to actually find their gears. And, of course, coming into this weekend, Search and Destroy was a little bit of an issue. We saw that yesterday. It was almost, it was pretty poor, let's be honest. But today, they seem to have fixed it.
Well, I think that JCap interview was perfect. They needed to get some sort of confidence and play together. I think what's really going to solidify their sort of fix, quote-unquote, in S&D is when they play Optic again and how those S&D rounds go. I don't really expect them to beat Optic in Search and Destroy, but they shouldn't be getting 6-1 by any means with the amount of talent these guys have. They might be able to win one of them even. So that's going to be the real test for me if this EnVy team is sort of back.
And you talk about potentially winning one against Optic Gaming. That leads to an interesting point, Maven. Let's say, for example, EnVy beat Optic 3-1 tomorrow. Let's say somehow, obviously, they won the Hardpoints. I mean, they would then theoretically take the #1 seed if both teams continue to win out.
I mean, I think everyone, not to knock Fnatic, but everyone wants to get that first seed, maybe with a chance to match up with them, which who will probably be, the least feared team going into playoffs, you would say. And I don't know, man. In S&D, it's like people are starting to figure out that, yes, is their strategy to it, sure, but it's about hunting as a pack and playing together and playing with balls, with courage, like you're talking about. You've heard Luminosity talk about their changes that help them. Optic, same thing. And every time we looked at EnVy during that game, four men just running around, trading effectively, and that's what it takes in IWS&D.
And Matt, you kind of brought that up earlier on with LG, right?
Yeah.
LG's biggest weakness was their Search and Destroy. How did they fix it? I mean, they just wolf-packed.
It's what Search and Destroy is come down to in COD, especially, well, in this title.
Right.
It's just, you gotta just 4-hit bomb sites. Just pick a bomb site, go aggressive. Just if you want to hit a flank as a team, it just needs to be fast, aggressive. Just regardless of what you decide to do, it needs to be together.
I think as this year has gone on, though, in Search and Destroy, specifically with these teams, is yes, they play that grouped-up, aggressive style, but everything they do from then on has some sort of thought process behind it.
Yeah.
It's gaining information. They have guys looking at different angles, catching those timings much better. These teams are doing such a great job of taking the area of the map they want. The fact that EnVy is able to 4-hit the backside of Breakout behind Cell Block, and actually not go down at all is very, very impressive stuff.
Well, we talked a little bit about it last year. It's when, like, some of the search and destroy, like SARS, you kind of have them, like, playing on game battles or whatever. Like, they just play really fast in search and destroy. Yep. And it was a play style that, like, last year, like, a lot of the pro teams kind of got, like, thrown off, like, in, like, 2Ks and, like, some other tournaments. Yeah. And it was basically just, like, okay, they would just push up the map and they would just, like, eliminate areas. Like, okay, nobody can be in this section. Nobody can be in this section. They have to be there. And they were just so fast up around the map that it's kind of leaked into the pro play a little bit.
It's like if you ever played like StarCraft or an RTS, you think about like the fog of war right on the map. You're just eliminating it, opening up more vision, and I think you saw EnVy doing that better here. And then also, I mean, a testament. If you haven't watched like the Optic Crusher earlier in the day, that was perfect. Back to Teep's point of just having every single angle, everything done to get information. Once they got the information, go, no hesitation, hit it. I think the greatest thing is just how quickly EnVy has improved from day 1 to day 2.
Oh, it's been heads and tails. It really has. Completely different team.
Couldn't get worse.
That's true. That's definitely true. Moving forward, though, we'll talk about the Uplink now. Of course, this was map 3, and this is where EnVy closed out the series convincing fashion. The final score was 12-2, but at the half, it was just 3-0 Teep, so things definitely spiraled out of control.
Well, my guy Cap was just kind of hanging out that game. He was like 0-8 or some point, just carrying the drone.
He has those
as soon as he started getting some kills, we saw this score get out of line very, very fast. And then, man, John and Apathy again. They're just lighting up the scoreboard. Slash is probably going to be my MVP for the day for this squad, though. The fact that these three are carrying so much of the load, again, I'm going to go back. It looks like the team that won champs. Yeah. It looks very, very scary. This is the series that really solidified it for me, but it is a weak Epsilon. I don't know. Again, once we see this matchup against Optic again, that's going to solidify it.
It's a combination of things. I think it's been a similar conversation for Slasher and John. When does John get back to being a top SMG? When does Slasher getting back to a top AR? You thought if one of those things happened, this team could succeed. Both of them happening in the course of the same weekend, you see the results.
Yeah, it's a pretty good result. I mean, you see John there throughout that series, a 1.32. I mean, you go back to stage 1, there was questions about sensitivity. We bumped it up a little bit, started to play a little bit better. Then all of a sudden, I think he went back down again. He's definitely been trying to find his groove, and I kind of feel a little bit sorry for him because he's often called, oh, he's a Treyarch player. John only plays well in track titles. If he can play like this for the rest of the year, this EnVy squad is definitely going to be lethal.
I think another big piece of this, I was talking to Cap right before Hot Mic on Thursday, and he basically said, we've lost faith in each other. Like, not a chemistry thing, like we don't believe in each other, the trust isn't there, and that's tough to hear from the team that's seen so much success. But when you struggle for a long time, that can happen. What fixes that feeling? Winning. Very quickly, faith starts to come back, and I think it's just sort of a snowball effect.
Winning fixes a lot of things.
It's easy to win when the other teams have combined -24 game 3.
Helps. Definitely helps. For Epsilon, definitely not the weekend they would have wanted. They, of course, will not be able to qualify for the Stage 2 playoffs. Moving forward, though, we had our Scorestreak prediction game throughout that last series, and I'm curious to see how you two would have done. Teep's normally pretty right. I'm excited to see how
what I love is whenever
I'd
Ben brings back the desk, he always says, like, expert panel. When you saw him get on, he's just like, welcome back to the desk. Like, we're here.
Like, Clint knows a thing or two.
We've added
I'll give him props. I'll give him some props.
Strategy is the name of my game.
What game?
What game is that? Yeah, that's the question. Anyway, throughout map number 1, we asked what will be the score difference in game 1. 38% of you guys got this correct. Less than 50 points. The correct answer, of course, was 14. I can see why, though. 62% went for B there.
I'd take B all day, especially with how weak Epsilon's look.
There was a C option for 100. I made it.
I understand A there, though, just because it's throwback. You don't see a lot of blowouts on throwback. It's very scrappy. You split a lot of hard points. I certainly get it. If it was something to break out of retaliation, definitely B, but throwback, there's always tight games.
That's why you're on the desk. That's why you're on the desk right there. Good point. We'll see the question we asked in map number 2 is how many rounds will be played in game 2? The correct answer, 73% of you guys got this correct. It was 8 or 9. The correct answer, of course, was 8. I mean, do you really put that much faith in EnVy's search and destroy in terms of that?
Today? Yeah.
I guess.
The searches look really good, and man, I'm just more surprised that 73% of people got that right. That's kind of a ballsy
high number. That is a very, very high number indeed. Matt, you're looking as if you...
Well, I mean, with the way EnVy played yesterday, it was averaging about like 7-8 rounds. Figure with the way Epsilon's been playing, I mean, if EnVy were to win it, probably be 6-7 rounds, so it's not too crazy.
Smart.
Not too crazy.
I like the way you...
What do you think?
I would have flipped a coin for 3 options. Not even possible.
Fair enough. We'll see the question we asked in map number 3. How many players will finish with 30 or more kills? And I believe the correct answer was C. It was 2 of them, Apathy and John. I guess you could go with that. Makes sense, right? I feel
I
like
would take 2 because Dave has been dropping like 30, 40 kills,
Dropped
and
40
I
in
expect
game
1
1.
player. So yeah, granted it was 2 players from Envy, but regardless.
Fair enough, fair enough. We'll take a
Good
look
one.
at our scoreboard as well, see if you recognize any of your own names on that list. I think the highest record we've seen so far throughout the CWL has been 13. Currently, it is going to be 9. Lil Bula at the top there. Pretty impressive streak.
Anthony and Marissa, are there
That's
2 people working
cheating.
together?
That's not fair.
You can't double up Anthony and Marissa.
Shout out to Anthony and Marissa.
It's actually Merck and his wife,
Yeah,
Marissa. He's out today.
Teamwork makes the dream
Staying
work
home
right
playing
there.
Scorestreak all day.
Of course, you can play the Scorestreak prediction game exclusively at mlg.tv/COD. There you have your up-to-date event statistics, featured player POVs, and source quality, including, of course, the Scorestreak prediction game. But moving forward, I do want to talk a little bit now about that last series of the day, and it's a pretty big one because if Optic win it, they will secure their spot at Stage 2 playoffs. The seed still unknown. It could be first or second, depending on how things play out tomorrow. But for Cloud9, I don't want to say it's a must-win because it could still theoretically lose and go through, but this is a big game, team.
Oh, 100%. And then going back to the series earlier on, Cloud9 did not look too good against EnVyUs early, so a bit worried for them in this series versus Optic. Overall, though, I think the breakout, Cloud9 looked very good at breakout S&D yesterday, but the respawns, man, when Scum's averaging like a 2.0, like, it's insane. How do you keep up?
I do want to point out, obviously, we've seen this series once. It was a 3-0 up to gaming, but the maps were pretty close. The Hardpoint 250 to 235, the Search and Destroy was 6-3, and the Uplink Frost 6-4. We heard Ace yesterday, Maven say we could have won it.
It's exactly what I was going to bring up, though. But like, so you come out of yesterday feeling like you could have won every map. Awesome. Then you come in and get 3-0'd. Like, eventually that feeling has to wear off. Like, you go from feeling like you can compete in every series to, okay, we're not actually winning any series. This no longer is a relevant feeling that matters in any capacity.
You don't get a participation medal.
Yeah, exactly. But I agreed with it at the end of the day yesterday. But now if you come in and go 0-2 with a bunch of close maps,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter at all.
Doesn't matter at all. I mean, talking of the maps, we'll take a look at our maps for the series. Team, you kind of touched on it a little bit there. Of course, we're going to have that throwback Hardpoint, breakout Search, and a precinct Uplink. And this Optic Gaming squad, in terms of Search and Destroy, they've been on fire.
Yeah, 100%. And then, going back to the first series, Cloud9's best hardpoint is Scorch, and they lost that to Envy in the first series of the day. It was somewhat close, but regardless, you guys hit the nail on the head there. You don't get a trophy for getting 230 points. You need to get all the points in order to get the win. So, for me, Priesta hasn't had the best of days today. Granted, it's only been 1 series, but he needs to really step it up if they have any sort of chances keeping up with the slaying, and then I don't know. I don't know what they need to do in the response.
If it was a time to turn up, it would be right here, Up to Gaming versus Cloud9. Of course, still plenty of action left here at Week 4 of Stage 2 of the CWL Global Pro League presented by the PlayStation 4. Day 2 sadly coming to a conclusion with just 1 match left on the day. Optic Gaming versus Cloud9 still to come as both teams fight to secure their spot at Stage 2 playoffs.